probably the hardest thing is negotiating with a child using every ounce of creativity and guile and cunning and a song to try and convince them to do something that you personally could not give a shit about, right? Something you have no personal stake in whatsoever. So you're there going, just put your shoes on. Just put your shoes on. We're going to leave the house. Come on, put your shoes on. We can all go. I've got my shoes on. Mummy's got her shoes on. Your baby sister's got her shoes on. Doesn't need shoes. Can't walk. Put your shoes on. Just put your shoes on. Please put your... Okay, seriously, man to man, put your shoes on. Just put your shoes on. Let's sing the shoe song. Shoes are good. Everyone thinks that you should put your shoes on. Put your shoes on. Put your shoes on. Fine. Do you know what? Walk outside, lacerate your feet to ribbons on the broken glass that I've left there specifically to teach you a lesson. Because you have stolen from me even the luxury of suicide. That was too much. I'm sorry. I didn't.
There's a little competition between every stepdad and actual real proper dad. There's a little competition between every stepdad and actual real proper important dad. There is, and it goes like this. A lot of you will know it. It goes like this. My son will come over from his place, come to my place, and he'll say something like, Daddy, did you know David has the fastest car in Australia? And I don't go, he's a fucking lying dog, because I want him to respect him. So I go, wow, no way. Did you know I used to race Ferraris? And he goes, whoa, that's so cool. And then he goes back and tells that to the fake dad. And that is how the game is played. And to be honest with you, it's starting to escalate.
They're my favourite thing to witness British dads abroad, because it's the 1 week of the year when they're supposed to relax and enjoy themselves. And they cannot fucking do it, can they? They're just on guard the whole time, just sceptical about everything for some reason, right? My dad, from the second he leaves the front door in England, he thinks everybody's trying to rip him off, everyone's trying to get one over on him, and he will not be defeated, right? This sums him up, my dad. First thing he does when he gets abroad, first thing he does when he arrives in paradise, get a safe. Get a safe sorted. Get everything in that safe. Keys in the safe, wallet in the safe, passport in the safe. These people have got nothing. Get it in the safe. He's reprogramming that safe every night at midnight. Like it's fucking Ocean's 11.
My son, he's growing too fast for my liking. Yeah? Too fast. I tell him all the time, slow down. I just want to get to know you. Telling you. And he's taller than me. He's like 6'1", so he's 13 feet. Remember, he's 14, you know? Yeah? So the dynamic of telling him off is weird. If he's sitting down, I'm like, what did I tell you about cleaning your room? If he's standing up, I'm like, what did I tell you? Okay, I'm going. Every time he leaves the house, he always gives me a hug, though, which I like. But sometimes when he gives me a hug, he lifts me off my feet. Put me down. I even felt my foot go like this. I thought, I feel like a little bitch in my own house.
In order to tell you this joke, I'm going to have to reveal some information that's secret, so let's keep it in the room. But it has recently emerged that me and my wife are expecting a child. You have to let me finish. We're expecting a child to make some pretty serious accusations against me.
All I do is whinge about my mum. I feel like society at large, like, blame the mother, nothing on the dad. But seriously, my dad, genuinely, so inconsequential. I just have one of those dads. I don't even call my dad Dad. No sad reason there. It's just, if I'm on a street, like, calling out, Dad! 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 Every dad ever will turn around. Random people will turn around. Children, dogs. I get nothing until I'm like, Michael Bauer! And he's like, oh, hi, Helen, do you want to go Bella Italia? Or... It's his entire vibe.
I used to have a story about when my son turned 18, I was going to punch him in the face. He's 18 now. On his birthday, I got up early. I set my alarm. And I went downstairs and I made myself a good breakfast. And then I heard him getting up. And I go, here we go. It's game time. My heart started racing. My hands got sweaty. Mom's spaghetti. So dumb. Oh, God. I started giving myself a pep talk. I was like, you can punch him. He's 18. You can do this because you did not spank him, and these are all the spankings that he should have coming to him. And then I heard him coming down the stairs, so I started walking towards the bottom of the staircase, and then he turned the corner, and I just saw a little boy walking towards me. And I was like, you can't punch this little boy. But here's what you can do. You can put a hockey helmet on him and hockey gloves, and then you can put those on as well, and we can go in the backyard and we can locker box. So that's what we did. And I kept hitting him in the shoulder. And he goes, it doesn't even hurt. What are you doing? And I was like, all right, just wait. And then the third round, he could not lift his hands up to protect his face. That's old man knowledge. President style. After we locker boxed, I went inside and I checked my social media, and there were over 1,000 messages asking if I had punched my son in the face. Happy birthday. That's the kind of world we live in, I guess. So I replied to all these messages. I said, no, I couldn't punch him in the face. I didn't think it'd be fair to him. So instead, we went in the backyard and we locker boxed. And then I put my phone away. And then 24 hours later, I checked, and I had a message from a man in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he had replied back to me with a picture of Urban Dictionary's definition of locker box. And I would like to tell you that it is not what I thought. Urban Dictionary's definition of locker box is when you're having sex with someone, you also shove your nuts into them. I mean, where do you even start? Do people do that? And if so, how? How do you do that? The only thing I know about that sexual position is you probably need the lights on. That does not seem like a feel-around job to finish it. Oh, my God. So anyways, I sent over 1,000 people a message from my home computer that said, nah, man, I didn't punch him in the face. You know, because that wouldn't be fair. Instead, I brought him in the backyard. And I put my balls up there. For like a week, I was nervous that the green light on my computer was gonna come on the camera, and it would just be the feds like, what else is going on over there, creep?
I just hate being caught out being my real self. So, but someone who is unencumbered with that is my son. He's a lovely boy, right? He's cerebral, he's sweet, very early talker. His first word was mama. Of course it was. His mum had been training him from birth to say the word mama in order to win an argument I didn't know we were having. Right. To be fair to her, I had been coaching him in secret the entire time to say the word pathetic. Because I thought that'd be quite funny. Like, how good would that be if the first thing he ever said was when she went, mama. 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 And he looked up and went, pathetic. I thought she'd get a laugh out of that. And he's a lovely guy. He's called, his name is Boutros. And It's not really called Boutros, but thank you, the 80% of you who didn't laugh just in case. I call him Boutros when I'm on stage in order to anonymise him, and because when he's a teenager, if he sort of interacts, he sees my work online, on telly or something, then if he's aggrieved, if he's pissed off, I've been talking about him this whole time, I can just say, no, you had an older brother who died. So you've got to appreciate the elegance of the system. Sweet little guy, and he is every inch the Bristolian child. There is not a stitch of clothing on him that isn't a rainbow sequin. And if he grows up to be heterosexual, it's going to break his poor mother's heart. I'm telling you that now. I will still love him. But he has, weirdly, he's very empathic, right? He's very sensitive. And he has this swimming teacher, right? A very muscular Spanish guy called Jose, with a beard, very broad, muscle-bound guy. And my son insists on misgendering Jose. I say to him, how was swimming? He's like, yeah, it was a good one. She was good. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's a he. And he goes, no, he's a she. And he gets really angry with me. So one of two things is going on, both of them equally brilliant. Either, in 2021, today's 5-year-olds just recognise innately that gender is a construct, it's all meaningless, and it doesn't matter at all. Or my son can smell true gender. Like one of those cancer dogs, do you know what I mean? If he lies down in front of you, you've got to ask yourself some pretty penetrating questions. I say to him, I'm pretty sure Jose's a dude. He's like, well, maybe now, but she's got a long journey ahead of her. Okay. I told him I'd get him a treat, right? So I was at the supermarket and I promised I'd bring a little something back for him. And you do need to be careful about the cultural artefacts you put into your kids' heads. So, like, he loves the Mr. Men. Him and his sister, they love the Mr. Men. I don't know if you've revisited the Mr. Men stories recently, but my God, the male Mr. Men, the male ones, they're all called names based on physical prowess and dynamism. They drive the story forward. They're all called Mr. Noisy, Mr. Strong, Mr. Rush, even Bump and Tickle. There's something going on. Do you know what I mean? Not necessarily something very savoury, but they have agency. Whereas the lady Mr. Men, the little miss, the little misses, they're all called these incredibly diminutive, patronising names. They're all called Little Miss Bossy, Little Miss Splendid, Little Miss Passive and Fat. And I don't know why we put up with it. It's astonishing. So you've got to be careful about the decisions you make. And I'm standing in the supermarket. I'm standing in Big Tesco. Other sizes of Tesco are available. And on one side of the magazine rack, there is a copy of Lego Batman, right? It's Lego Batman. On the other side, there's My Little Pony magazine. Now, I want him to want this, but I know that he wants this, right? I'm fine with that. It's just that I want him to be into Batman, because I was into Batman as a kid. I still quite like Batman. And I just want him, for some reason, I want him to grow up like I did, like Batman, vengeful and furious and alone for some reason. I don't know. But it's like my inner landscape. I think like a lot of men, the inner landscape of my life is like, I'm Batman. Every problem in my life is like a crisis only I can solve. I must never ask for help, and I must get a special car. Right? That's the inner landscape. Whereas his inner landscape is the world of My Little Pony. So everything in his imagination, his view of the world is this sort of lurid, candy floss, hyper-sexualized in a way that he can't really comprehend. Like a kind of quivering bubblegum fuck horse. And so... like the characters in my world, the Batman world, they've got names like Harvey Dent, you know, the Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, all of that stuff. The characters in his mind have got names like Princess Celestia, Twilight Sparkle, Twinkle Pips, Cloud Gush, Glitteris. You know, obviously I'm making some of them up, but not all of them. And so I panicked and I made the wrong decision. I got him the Batman comic and I took it home and he was crestfallen but polite. And I was like, oh, sorry, and I got the wrong thing. Until he looked through and he said, oh, no, this is great. Daddy, look, there's a Lego Batgirl comic strip. And I was like, wow, he loves Batgirl. So I said, why don't we play Lego Batgirl? And he was like, yeah, great. And I said, okay, fantastic. You be Batgirl, I'll be Batman. Right, I pointed at you then. You be Batgirl. You're up for it. Well into it. You be Batgirl, I'll be Batman. And he went, no, Daddy, I'll be Batgirl, you be Wonder Woman, and you have to call me Sis. Okay? Cool. I'm down with that. Sure. So I said, okay, sis. I think there's a giant robot attacking the city. It must be something to do with Lex Luthor. Let's do a team up. And he says, no, sis, it's our day off. We're just going to relax. So we did. We built a sofa fort with the cushions. And I said, this is the Bat Cave. And he said, no, it was a salon. And he let me have Bat Salon. So it was all the more strange then when we had to start doing discipline, right? Because eventually, of course, his baby sister turned up and this sweet, lovely little boy started having incredibly powerful, rage-filled meltdowns, right? Of course he did. He'd been used to being the main guy in the house. Suddenly he had to share power. And it turns out when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Who knew? Oh, a bunch of smug people knew. Oh, well done, well done. So we had to start doing the naughty step. Now, if you're over the age of 30, you'll probably remember the naughty step from Super Nanny in the 90s. If you're under 30, you might just remember the naughty step, I don't know. And the way it works is simple. You explain to the child, I'm going to count to 3. If this behaviour doesn't change, by the time I get to 3, they've got to sit on the naughty step for a while. Do you know you're not supposed to call it the naughty step anymore? Right, 2021, you're not supposed to call it that. Do you know what we're supposed to call it? We're supposed to call it the thinking step. Because we don't wish to imprint upon the child the concept that they are a naughty child. The behaviour is naughty, the child themselves is not naughty. So that's the thinking step. Not in our household. We understand that you have to win the psychological victory early doors. So in our household, it's called the huge disappointment to me and your mother... hatch. That's what we call it. And I'd explained the system the previous week. He was having a meltdown, so I said, listen, Buster, I'm going to do counting. If you don't change this behaviour, I'm going to do counting like we talked about. And his face changed. His face darkened, his brow furrowed. He said, don't you do counting. Bloody hell, Batman. I said, I'm going to do counting. He said, don't you do counting. I said, here I go. I said, 1. He looked at me very coolly. He said, 2. I didn't know what the hell to do. There was nothing in the training material about what to do when your child takes themselves hostage. I'll do it, old man. Try me. What he's done is he's artificially escalated the jeopardy, hasn't he? He's left me nowhere to go. I can't say 3 now, and I feel like he knows that. I didn't know he could count. So now, without ceding any authority, I've got to de-escalate. I've got to sort of take the air out of the situation, but still... I've not had my bluff called this hard since his sister was conceived. So... I said 1, he said 2. I rather weakly said 2.5. He fixed me with his eye contact. He said 3.5. And then the two of us locked eyes. We both sat down together. I lit 2 cigarettes. And we just carried on counting. Eventually, of course, he ran out of numbers. I'm calling that a win. That's fine. I'm just not used to dealing with that sort of anger. I mean, obviously now I've got kids, Christ. Probably the hardest thing is negotiating with a child using every ounce of creativity and guile and cunning and a song to try and convince them to do something that you personally could not give a shit about, right? Something you have no personal stake in whatsoever. So you're there going, just put your shoes on. Just put your shoes on. We're going to leave the house. Come on, put your shoes on. We can all go. I've got my shoes on. Mummy's got her shoes on. Your baby sister's got her shoes on. Doesn't need shoes. Can't walk. Put your shoes on. Just put your shoes on. Please put your... Okay, seriously, man to man, put your shoes on. Just put your shoes on. Let's sing the shoe song. Shoes are good. Everyone thinks that you should put your shoes on. Put your shoes on. Fine. Do you know what? Walk outside, lacerate your feet to ribbons on the broken glass that I've left there specifically to teach you a lesson. Because you have stolen from me even the luxury of suicide. That was too much. I'm sorry. I didn't. Yeah, he's upset for some reason. I don't know why.
The other reason I grew a beard is because my 18-year-old son challenged me to a beard growing contest. And he lost because he is 18. You ever seen an 18-year-old's beard? Oh my God, they're so gross. It's like a daddy long leg who's just crawling out feet first. Like a whisker up here and a whisker over here. I have a grandmother that could beat this kid in a beard growing contest using only moles. I think my son challenged me to a beard growing contest because pubic hair grew in on other parts of his body, and that grew in full. Because that is how pubic hair works. Nobody has patchy pubes. Let me rephrase that. I don't think anybody has patchy pubes. Some of you shut down on that one. You're like, hey, buddy, right here. What are you doing out of the house? Just stay home and fix your dick mange or whatever. It's probably not called that, but that's what I'm gonna call it. I have never seen pubic hair on my son's body, but I have for sure seen it shaved off of his body onto my toilet seat. You know where my toilet seat is? That's in my bathroom. That's an easy one. Everyone should have got that. Do you know where my bathroom is? That is in my bedroom. So that means he walked through my bedroom, and he is not allowed in there because clothes go missing and pillows get moved, and I don't trust that. A crooked pillow is a mystery I don't want to solve. So that goes in the garbage immediately. I just picture him straddling my toilet, and I know he straddled it because there are only pubes on the back half of the toilet seat. If you have a better theory, I'll listen, but there isn't one. That's the only way, because I know he wasn't using painter's tape and shit to, like, straighten it out. Hold on, it's not even yet. Let me get a laser level. I got it. Just over my toilet. Fion, fion, fion. Like he's making a pair of Ugg boots. Right? Walking out of my bathroom like, fuck it, my dad'll clean it up. I'm 18, I don't try. Or, you know, whatever kids say when you're not around. Now, the main problem I have with these pubes on the toilet is that during this story, my kids live with me Sunday to Wednesday. They live with their mother Wednesday to Sunday. And he shaved his pubes Wednesday before he went to school. That means he was not going to be home for 4 days. So I called his cell phone when he was at school to leave a message, but he answered because he is not a good student. And I said, hey man, found some pubes. And he said, where? Which leads me to believe I have not found all the pubes. What do you mean, where? Why are there options to this conversation? Am I going to happen upon more pubes later this afternoon? Boy, I sure hope not, because I taught him how to prank, and I know he's real good at it. I haven't checked, but I bet you there are pubes in my sleeping bag right now. 'Cause that's a hard-ass burn. Nobody naps when they're camping. The first time you get in that bag, the food is in the tree and the fire is out, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get some. Oh, those are pubes. You got me. So I said, hey man, why'd you shave the pubes at my house? And he goes, because mom's not there to yell at me. And I said, that is the dumbest answer I've ever heard. So get back here after school and clean these up. And he said, I'm sorry, Father, but according to the custody agreement, I am at mother's now. And I know that was meant to make me mad, but it didn't. I was thrilled he used 2 3-syllable words in one sentence. Because I have watched him walk into a wall during the daytime. Natural sunlight guiding his way and just still, thunk. So I waited till Sunday, and he came to my house and said, hey man, come give me a hug. And he came to give me a hug like this, and when he did, I spun him around, and I put him in a full Nelson. And I walked him up the stairs, and I walked him into my bathroom, and I bent him over the toilet like I was rubbing a dog's nose in its own shit. Because the pubes were still there. They're not mine. I'm not cleaning those off. I walked downstairs in my own home for 4 straight days to use the bathroom because I am committed to parenting. So I have him bent over the toilet, and he starts making the weirdest noise. He started going like that. And I panicked a little bit, because when he was 2, he had asthma. When he was 7, it went away because of a nebulizer. And I thought, oh my God, did I give my kid back asthma? But I didn't. Turns out he was just blowing pube dust to create a clean breathing area. Once I figured that out, I could not stop laughing. Because I had come to the realization my son is pubic hair waterboarding himself. And that hits the spot. I was laughing so hard, my grip loosened. He finally wiggles around and he goes, "Why are you doing this to me?" I said, "Because your mom's not here to yell at me anymore either."
I only recently started taking responsibility for my happiness. That's something I've learned. You can take responsibility for your happiness. Never done it before, never really taken responsibility for that kind of thing. My agent said to me, actually, she said, the only person who can stop Josh Pugh at the minute is Josh Pugh. And my first thought was, oh great, there's another comedian out there called Josh Pugh. It's fucking typical, that is. But I thought, if I'm going to have a kid, if I'm going to bring a child into the world, I need to take responsibility for my happiness. I want to be a happy, up, positive person, because I'm not always, and sometimes I get quite down, and sometimes I get a lot of intrusive thoughts. So I decided to go to the doctor about this and tell the doctor about it. Now, I don't go to the doctors very often, so when I do, I just give him everything that's wrong with me, and in no particular order at all. I'm just like, help me, right? And I go in, I'm just really honest. I go, doctor, me and my wife went to Whitby on holiday recently, and I don't know if you know Whitby, but there's very high cliffs in Whitby, and the whole time I was there, I kept getting intrusive thoughts to jump off the cliff, jump off the cliff, jump off the cliff. Then one night, doctor, me and my wife were walking along the pier, and I see an old couple kind of leaning up the pier, eating fish and chips. And I very vividly imagine clotheslining the old couple off that pier, and I'm clearly seeing them in my mind falling and smashing against the rocks, and their elderly, blooded, frail bodies in the fish and the chips just washing into the ocean. And do you think this is athlete's foot? It's a bit red on the side there, I don't know if you could see that. And he talks me through it, and he says, look, the best thing for me to try would be CBT. Heard of this? Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. Now, when I do CBT, it's all on the phone, right? So week 1, the guy phones me up, his name's Gareth. Week 1, he phones me up, he goes, Josh, the thing to remember with CBT is, I am not the therapist. You are the therapist. And I was like, okay, Gareth, well, what seems to be the problem? He's like, no, that's not what I mean. I was like, mate, if you're not going to open up, this is never going to work, is it? Leave your ego at the door and let's get you sorted, because you're struggling, mate, ain't you? You're struggling. Now, you get 12 free sessions on the NHS of CBT. Week 2, Gareth finds out that I do stand-up comedy. Weeks 2 to 12 is Gareth asking me about stand-up comedy. Specifically, tell me how much he loves a comedian, Russell Kane. Every week he's going on, oh, we love Russell Kane, Josh, in our house, we think he's brilliant, he's absolutely fine. Look, I'm not even headlining my own therapy session here. Every week he's going on, and the worst thing is, he's working from home, he's bringing his wife into it. He's like, oh, we love Russell Kane, Josh, we think he's brilliant, he's absolutely fantastic. Have you ever met Russell Kane? I was like, yeah, I've met Russell Kane, nice guy. He's a nice guy, love, apparently, Russell. We knew he would be, Josh, he comes across lovely on that TV. I tell you what, we went to see him last year. Where was it? Was it De Montfort, love, in Leicester? No, it's the year before. I tell you what a show that lad puts on, Josh. Unbelievable. We actually love what he does. We think he's fantastic. We love what he does. What kind of stuff do you do? And I was like, well, I just kind of do like semi-surreal, rambly stories that just sort of tail off at the end. Yeah, not for us that love, is it? No, we'll leave that actually, Josh. But it was good, Gareth, I tell you what, good at his job, very good at his job. Taught me a lot, taught me about these intrusive thoughts. Taught me that we all get them. We all get these bad thoughts. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean you're going to act on them, but we all get them. This is one I get. I don't know if you can relate to this. You know when something really bad's happened in your family, maybe your granddad's been taken to hospital and it's really upsetting and it's really stressful. Whatever plans you had for that day are up in the air. It's a very overwhelming day, right? At some point during all that, I will get this thought. We might get to have a takeaway tonight. I'm not proud of it, but it comes. And I tell you what, it comes too early as well. I've had it before, it's been put in the back of the ambulance. I'm like, we ain't had a Chinese for ages, have we? Get the menus out the drawer. Yeah, mine, how you go. All the best. Text when you get there. He's a good guy, my granddad. He's a good dad. I think that's what I want to do. I want to take a bit of the best bits of the male role models from my life, add my own flavour, and that's how I'll be a dad to my little boy. My granddad, he's a great dad to my mum, great granddad to me. He's like me, he's a people pleaser. I've said that about myself for years, I'm a people pleaser. Quite a cocky thing to say about yourself, actually, when you think about it, isn't it? I'm a people pleaser. I just can't help but bring joy to everybody. That's my curse. But he is. He says that he told me he's got one wish for his funeral. His only request for his funeral, he wants a song My Way to be played at his funeral. I was like, I don't think Limp Bizkit's the right vibe, but I'll go with it. He's like, no, I want the song Frank Sinatra, My Way. I'm like, okay, Grandad, you want the song My Way by Frank Sinatra to be played at your funeral? Yeah. The song My Way, about doing the things you want to do when you want to do it in spite of all opposition, sticking to your guns, doing the things you want to do when you want to do it, that song My Way. He's like, yeah. I was like, Grandad, with the greatest of respect, you worked for the council for 45 years. Nan chooses all of your outfits, all of your meals, everything you watch on TV. What is it you think you've done your way, exactly? With the greatest of respect. He's like, no, I just want it played as the curtain goes round the coffin. I was like, I thought you was having a burial. Yeah, but your mum thinks we're better off with the cremation. That's what I'm talking about. I've got a stepdad as well. Not easy being a stepdad. Not as fun as the pornos make it look. I tell you that, it's difficult. It's not all casting couches and fake taxis. I tell you that, it's a graft. When he first kind of moved in with us, my stepdad, he gave me and my sister this talk. He said, listen, kids, I'm not here to replace your real dad. And we were like, well, what the fuck are you here for then? You just moved in with a random family. We need school shoes, pal. Get your hand in your pocket. You've got a job on here. But he was great. I take a bit of what my stepdad did, and I've got a phrase. My stepdad used to have this phrase that he'd say, whenever I'd done something wrong, I don't know if your parents ever used this on you, but whenever I did anything wrong as a kid, he'd always say, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Get that one? I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And I would think, good. What a relief that is. I would take disappointment over anger any day of the week. No one's ever killed anybody in a fit of disappointment, have they? If I said to you guys, as an audience, I've got 2 pit bulls backstage. One of them's angry. The other one's disappointed. I'd have released one into the town, or which one do you want? Disappointed one. He's a good boy. We'll cheer him up. But what I'll add to the mix, so I take all those things from the male role models of my life. The other thing that I'll add, which maybe other men in my family don't do, I'm very good at talking about my feelings. I'm quite open about my feelings. My dad won't do it. My dad doesn't do that. What my dad does with his emotions, I don't know if anyone else's parents or dad or uncles do this, but what he'll do, he'll take all his anxieties, all his worries, all his concerns about the world and the future, and he'll just consolidate all of those as anger, which you'll then channel towards one celebrity that he's chosen to hate for seemingly no reason whatsoever, and every time that celebrity comes on the TV, he just fucking lets them have it. Stephen Mulhern, in my dad's case. Poor bloke's done absolutely nothing wrong. Every time he comes on the TV, oh, this prick again, he's everywhere, he is. He's haunting me. But that's what he'll do. He'll displace. He won't talk about it. He'll displace. I get back from school one day, right? My dad's in the garden, topless, bonfire, just burning stuff. just burning his own possessions. My mum goes, oh, your dad's not communicating. I'm like, he's fucking telling you something, isn't he? Read between the lines, things are on fire. I think he's having a bad time. He spoke about his feelings to me once, my dad. Opened up to me once. Worst day of my life, wish I hadn't have asked. They keep me in for a reason, these blokes. I can tell he was a bit off, right? And I go, are you okay, Dad? He goes, no, not really, son, no. I'm like, oh, what's the matter? He goes, we had you and your sister too young. Okay, here we go. Here we go. He was like, yeah, we had you and your sister too young. It meant I had to work every hour God sent to put food on the table. That meant that me and your mum spent less and less time together, more time apart, and ultimately that led to the breakdown of our marriage and divorce and huge financial upheaval and the stress of that. And that's not to mention the psychological effects it'll have on you and your sister probably into late adulthood. And I've just got so many regrets. I was like, oh. I was like, ooh. That Stephen Mulhern's a bit of a dickhead, Dad, isn't he?
Like, honestly, I knew nothing about fertility going in. Nothing at all. And I think it's because, like a lot of dudes, I got my entire sexual education from a PE teacher and a priest. Two separate guys. Relax, it's okay. It's just that neither of those jobs requires an understanding of science. You know, like, why did we pick them to teach kids about sex? They don't seem to have the knowledge. Think about it. It's one guy who has never had sex in his life. And a priest. Right? What? How are these the best we've got? It's an important issue. We trust them. It's one guy whose knees you can always see and one guy whose knees you hope you never see, right? That is, just doesn't seem like experts. I genuinely, Jad, I don't know, like, I hate to break this news to you like this. Like, I thought, like, the first time that I came in my wife, she was going to be pregnant. Like, the first time. Because, like, I don't know if you guys are scientists, that's what you got to do. There's a lot of wife coming going on. It's important. It's important for you to come in my wife. That's the key. Like, that's... Or so it's been explained to me, right? But yeah, I thought the first time she was going to, like, be pregnant. And that means I was going to be a dad in, like, 9 months. And I was like, man, am I ready to be a father in 9 months? You know, that was, like, genuinely... I was nervous. Like... I was nervous to come in her for the first time because that's not something I'd ever done before. And before you guys think, like, man, this Christian is undercover. Like, no. It was like, fuck, he's slipped through. That's amazing. No. Like, in fairness, with a fucking custom tracksuit, I do look like a youth pastor. Like that. I was nervous. Like, I was nervous to come in my wife for the first time. Like, because I'd never done it. Like, don't get me wrong. I had been there. I just hadn't stayed there. And to have a kid, you gotta stay. You know, you gotta be in there like the whole time. Like, I used to treat having sex with my wife like going to the cinema. Like, when I thought the credits were about to play, I'd get out of the cinema. That's when I'd go. Because I was worried about a sequel, you know, you can't be sure. Little after credits scene, you're like, fuck, there's one coming. You know, it could happen that way. But yeah, to have a kid, you gotta stay. Like, you gotta watch the credits all the way down to the director of photography, then you can go. You know, that's kind of what you're looking for. So that was the thing. I was genuinely nervous to do it for the first time, to have intercourse to procreate, which is what you call it when it's not for fun, right? And my wife knew that I was nervous, so the first time, we were there, right? We were like going for it. And she knows I'm nervous, so she's trying to reassure me. So we're going, and she says, "You're gonna make such a great dad." And I was like, that's a pretty early call, to be honest. Then we kept going, and she's like, "I can't wait to have a baby with you." And I was like, the credits are getting further away, maybe just... And we're getting closer, and closer, and closer. And just when I thought the credits were about to play, like all that muscle memory from my 20s kicked in, and I just shoved her off me and came safely in the air. Right? That's what I did, safely in the air. That way goes up, lands on me. I'm a married man now, you can't get that on the sheets, that's messy, right? God gave you a belly button for a reason, get it in there. Clean it up with a day-old t-shirt. We've only got one planet. I didn't know this when I was a younger man, but I think the only reason some women swallow is because it's... From what I've found out, it's not actually the taste, right? That was 18 months ago. Still no baby, still no pregnancy. We've actually done the fertility test. I don't know if anyone here has ever done fertility tests for women. They're quite expensive and invasive, but for dudes, pretty sick. Honestly, probably my favorite ever test. Because our test is we have to jizz in a cup. That's the test. Sorry, I said that wrong. We get to jizz in a cup. It felt like permission, you know? When my doctor was like, can you jizz in this cup? I was like, fucking oath, mate, let's go. Honestly, don't even worry about the Medicare rebate on this one. I'm happy for you to keep 100% of the cum, right? It's all yours. Run the test twice, knock yourself out. But I'd only ever seen fertility tests in American films where you take the test at a clinic, open the door, hand it to the nurse, thank you very much. But in Australia, you actually take fertility tests at home. So I was home, and I was just about to take the test, and my wife called me, and she was like, can I be there? And I was like, why? And she's like, because I want to make sure you're doing it right. I was like, I'm doing it right. You know, like I've never been more confident about anything. In fact, sometimes you... That's how right I do it. I've never studied harder for a test. I take a practice exam every time she goes to Pilates, right? Like, I'm gonna nail this fucking test, lock it in. And I took the test. It was more than I thought there'd be, which felt good, you know, good stuff. But then it was time to deliver it to the clinic, and I'll be honest with you, I've never checked an address more. That's not one you want to get wrong. You don't want to walk through the wrong door being like, here's the cup of jizz you've been waiting for. And the guy behind the counter's like, sorry, mate, this is ear, nose, and throat. And you're like, oh. So close. But only one of those places is jizz appropriate. Right? I think we can all agree. For anyone who cares, the test came back fine, by the way. My wife has more eggs than most women her age. And I had a doctor look me in the eye and tell me I have an above average load. Thank you.
I brought my son to a comedy festival in Nebraska. It was Johnny Carson's hometown, and I was always such a huge fan of Johnny Carson. I wanted to show my son some history, right? They have a museum there and everything. So we went there, and we had a great time. And on before the first show, we were in the green room. It was me, a couple friends, my son, and then two comedians walked in that I had never met, so they didn't know me, and they certainly didn't know my son. And so they thought he was a comedian, and they were like, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 18. They go, oh, you think you're going to go out there and wow the adult crowd with your 18-year-old humor? Yeah? Is that right? Is that what you're going to do? Sure. Uh-huh. Going to tell them about how you live with your parents? And somebody whispered to me, they go, are you going to help your son? And I was like, nah, I sharpen this stick. I know how it pokes. So the guy was just giving it to my son, and he's finally down, and my kid goes, yeah, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate the advice. Do you mind if I say something I like about your act? And the guy goes, go for it. He goes, I really like how you smile at the end of your jokes to let people know they're finished since the punchlines don't do the trick. Everybody slowly looked at me, and I was just like, Daddy raised you right! So thrilled. But that wasn't even my favorite. At the end of the week, there was a former Miss Nebraska there. Just a lovely woman. She was like the town celebrity, so nice. And she invited us all to her home to have a buffet at the end of the week. And so we got there. It was my friend Joe, my friend Phil, my son, and myself, and we got there late. And there were no plates left. And Phil is from Canada. And I only tell you that to let you know that he doesn't care about others. So we walked in, and there were no plates left at the buffet. And there were 3 plates on the kitchen wall. And Phil goes, can I use one of these? And she goes, no, you may not. And he goes, why not? And she started crying. And through tears, she told us this story about how her mom had left Europe with just 12 plates and the clothes on her back. And then she met the husband, and they had 4 kids, and they all got 3 plates. And all 4 of those kids had 3 children of their own, so they were all going to get 1 plate. And Phil goes, is that it? And she goes, yes, it is. And he goes, well, I'm hungry. I'm going to get food. And he turned, but he had a backpack on. And it knocked a plate off of the wall, and it shattered. And the only thing you could hear in the kitchen was the clock ticking and this woman sobbing. And my son goes, "God damn it, Phil, now she's gonna have to kill one of her kids." I mean, come on. This lady went from crying to laughing, and she goes, "Oh, I like you." And my son goes, "Enough to let me pick which kid?" This dude's like a superhero who doesn't know how to use his powers yet. "I'm flying. Is that a wall? Smash." Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you coming to the show. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.